the right thing.
I have a small at home. So, well, Mizuno. Mizuno, I have small. And this is a Mizuno medium, so I'm just gonna get one. Because I've been wearing the smalls, but they
Was
like.
that like 44 subscribers? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yes, please. No, all of these are very nice.
Oh, I see it. Now, what did you do that caused it to do something different? I guess it was just not even. I guess it's just not previewing. Oh. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, I think let's just load. Audio mixer. Yeah, let's turn it.
They playing Mike. Oh man. Don't try to fight it. There ain't nothing but enough. Your mind. Feel that you can ride away. Be alone. I wanna rock with you. Dance you into life. I wanna rock with you.
Rocking out there? Hear music?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got a Bluetooth speaker. I don't know if she told you that or.
Oh no.
All right, well, we could have had it rocking in here coming in. You've been doing a lot of these, or?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
been?
Not in
Schools?
person. This was my first time addressing people in person since February.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, this is awesome. It's great to see everybody here together. We're going to try to do this, and if this goes well, it also bodes well for our next assembly, which would be potentially a Spirit Week assembly. So let's just see if we can pull this off, guys, with in terms of transitions and behavior and hopefully sickness and all the other things. Let's see if we can make this work. And then a few weeks from now, we'll have a hopefully Spirit Week assembly. All right. We're here today for the concluding, and a reminder, please turn your phones off and put them in your pocket and put the phones away. Thank you. Or to vibrate. We're here today for the culminating. Thanks. You got the whole weekend to talk afterwards. All right, we're here today, this afternoon, for the culminating assembly for our Black History Month programming at Academy Magnet High School. And for that program, it is my pleasure to introduce someone who I've known for a while now, Mr. Benny Starr. And I thought I'd known him for a while, but it turns out that Coach Cole has known him longer. Coach Cole was his PE teacher. All right, our guest speaker this afternoon is Mr. Benny Starr, a hip-hop artist and activist. Thank you. From Pineville, South Carolina, who uses art to tell truth and advocate on behalf of others. He creates visual and musical experiences that bring his audience face to face with matters of the moment that impact our neighbors, friends, and families. His solo project, A Water Album, was named South Carolina's Best Album in 2019 by the Free Times. Explores the real and present challenges of flooding in the Little Country and the communities that are hit hardest. In collaboration with Roger Click, as Native Son, and in partnership with the Acres of Ancestry Initiative, they released The Land, a track with visuals that addresses the injustices suffered by Black farmers and agrarians in the South. He creates programming for youth and adults rooted in the arts and hip-hop culture to foster critical thinking and problem solving. He's a U.S. Water Alliance One Water Artist in Residence and was named one of GRIS's 50 Fixers of 2021. Today, he brings us a message on art as truth-telling rooted in love. So please help me welcome Mr. Benny Starr.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you so much. Can I take this off? Y'all mind if I take this off? Is that all right? Cool. How y'all feeling today? Everybody feeling good? So let me ask you, I'm gonna start this off by asking you a question. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it. My question that I'll ask you is, how many of you consider yourselves artists by show of hands? It's okay, it's all good. It's all good. That's all good. Okay, the second question I want to have, that I want to ask you all is, how many of you, and I think this is what we'll get into today, how many of you see the art in everything that you do? Good. Well, we'll get straight into it. You heard the introduction. I'm a hip hop artist, very recent filmmaker. I even struggle sometimes with the word activist, whether I want to call myself an activist. I know the reasons why I create art. I understand the community that I come from and the tradition of deep love and spirituality and all those things. So all those things do a good job of inspiring me and sustaining me and influencing the work that I do create. And today, if there's one message that I'll leave you with, the message that I want to leave you with is that when we think about art, I'm not here today to teach you how to be artists. I can't do that, right? But what I'm here to do is to instill upon you a perspective, and that perspective is that the process that you employ, the process that you go through to create anything, that process is just as important as the product, as the end result. And oftentimes that's not reflected in our society with how we think about art. Usually when someone says, let's involve art, let's do something with art. In my field, as a musician, they'll bring me in at the end to say, we want to come see you, come and perform for us. That's the only value they see in my work. If you're a painter, your painting will be invited somewhere for it to hang, for people to engage with it. And it's a very meaningful experience, whether you're engaging with painting, engaging with dance, engaging with music, engaging with poetry, but we miss so much of the value that the artists bring by ignoring the process, because the process that they go through to create this thing, this drudging up of emotions, and the way James Baldwin described it as artists being spiritual and emotional historians, that is critical to understanding more about yourselves, more about the world we live in, and more about artists in general. So I love to ask the question to everyone I meet first, do you consider yourself an artist? And secondly, do you see the art in what you do? So today I'm going to talk to you about the value of that artistic process. I believe that the artistic process and storytelling is a useful methodology, and it helps us embrace uncertainty. And it helps us to move with intention through moments of transformation and change. And if we all agree on one thing, it's likely that the last 2 years has had a lot of uncertainty. It's had a lot of doubt. It's been scary. It's instilled a lot of fear. There's been no certainty over the past 2 years. But we managed to get through that. There are things within that process that I think have extreme value. And so what I'm going to do before I get into my own personal story, because I don't want to be somebody who just gets up here and tells you about my life. You're going to hear a little bit about my life, but I don't want to do that off the rip. I want to encourage everyone, and I hope the teachers don't mind, because what I'm about to do is I'm about to walk through 7 different elements of my own artistic practice that I think could help you. And like my grandma say, I want you to chew the meat and spit out the bones. I mean, if you can use it, keep it. But if you can't, it's okay. Art and creating art is a practice of deep love. And when I say deep love, I'm referring to it in the way that Bell Hooks referred to it, the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. The will to extend oneself. To love yourself, what does it look like? To have a deep love for yourself. I'm not talking about romantic love necessarily, Hallmark cards in the movie. That's an aspect of it, but I'm talking about a deep love for yourself, a deep love for your family, for your community, for the lineage that you come from, a deep love for your neighbor, a deep love for your fellow man. What does that look like for you? I wish in many ways that question was asked to me more. But I'm also, when I was your age, but I'm also grateful that I come from a tradition where it was instilled into us in many different ways through the music, through spirituality, through these different things that we were blessed to be exposed to. So, if you feel you want to take some notes on these next 7 elements, feel free to take out your phone, turn it on. Do y'all have notes on your phone? Do y'all have like a notes app where you can jot things down? Feel free if you want to pull that out so you can take some notes. You don't have to take notes either. It doesn't make you a bad person. Okay, y'all ready? So these are 7 elements of my own creative process. Every time I create something, whether it's a film, whether it's a song, whether it's a verse, whatever it is, if I'm engaging water utility leaders about how are you practicing equity, what are you doing to make water access more equitable for everyone in the community that you serve? Whatever I'm doing, this is what I've learned, and this is what I've learned that I apply each time. And the only reason that I was able to learn this was because a lot of you might not know this, but this is the first time I've been able to engage people in person in 2 years. Everything has been virtual, of course. Everything has been on Zoom, and I'm an artist, and I love being on stage. This is you, and I'm really grateful that the first time I get to engage people after 2 years. My last show was on February 20th, in February of 2020. So 2 years later, I'm really grateful to be able to be here and engaging with you all. But during that 2 years, my practice had to change. So I had to be really introspective and reflective about what is this process and how can I add value and still be the creator or still be the artist that I am, even though it might look different. So here's the first element. Y'all ready for the first element? I want you to say yeah. Cool. The first element is a commitment to pre-production, okay? Whenever you're creating something, whether it's a song, whether it's a play, it's a production. But there are things that we have to go about. There are things that we have to do to decide whether or not we can even commit to what we're about to do, to what we're about to create together, to how we're about to collaborate. And a commitment to pre-production is really about self-discovery. You have to make time to discover yourself. You have to allow yourself to go through the process of self-discovery, taking time to identify where your energy is flowing, how it flows. This is a period that clearly defines our individual needs and your wants and how to be fully invested in whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating together. This could be applied in any area. It doesn't have to be a project that you're doing. This could be a strategy or process or program, your professional growth, whatever you want it to be. But a commitment to pre-production is your way to check in with yourself to be like, hey, what do I need to collaborate? What do I need to get this done? And it can be as simple, it can be very nuanced, it can be complicated. One of the things you might need is, I need to be respected. I need to be spoken to a certain way. I need to be able to come into the room and show up as my full self. Those are non-negotiable needs that I have to have. But this is the first and most important stage because everything builds off of that, a commitment to pre-production. So you know what your needs are. You've given yourself room for self-discovery. If you're ready for the next element, say yeah. The next element we're going to talk about is the art of crate digging. Anybody know what crate digging is? I feel very old. Okay, crate digging, y'all know what a vinyl record is? Okay, so back in the day when people would go to vinyl shops, they would call that crate digging because the vinyls would be in the crates. Sometimes people still do that now. I'm a hip hop artist, so hip hop is built on sampling. It's a big part of hip hop. They sampled. James Brown, an artist from South Carolina. Y'all know who James Brown is? So James Brown is the godfather of soul. James Brown is the most sampled artist in hip hop, period. Any of you all follow this thing called Versus? Versus battles that they have? There was a moment where I think Earth, Wind & Fire went up against the Isley Brothers, correct me if I'm wrong. And between those two groups, from a sampling perspective, their records had been sampled over 1,300 times in hip hop. Sampling is basically taking a piece of one song and turning it into something new. We may only be sampling 10 seconds of the song. We may be only sampling a hook, a verse, a certain part of the beat, and we flip it and we make it something new. But it's innovative, but it's not just that idea. Crate digging is important for us to appreciate and continue building on what others before us have done. It's about deepening your understanding and contextualizing your position within whatever it is that you're about to do, whatever creative project, where you live in your community, how you got there, who has access to be able to live there, who doesn't. You can crate dig with anything, and we'll get into that a lot later when I talk to you about where I'm from in Pineville, South Carolina. There was a lot of crate digging that helped me contextualize myself and to help guide my work going forward because there's a rich history there. And history is important. The past is important. It's important for us to critically examine that. But also, we are making history right now. So where you sit right now, where the school is, all of this is rich for crate digging. It's an opportunity for you to contextualize yourself within all the things that have happened before you so that you can innovate and move forward. If y'all ready for the next element, let me hear you say yeah. The cipher. How many of y'all familiar with a cipher? How many of y'all find yourself freestyling sometime? Yeah. So me and my friends freestyle all the time, but that comes from the cipher. Ciphering. People getting together. It's a participatory process. It comes from hip hop. And even before hip hop, its influences go back to ring shouts. It's a communal activity where people get together. You're able to identify yourself as the individual, bring your style, bring your charisma, bring your flavor, bring all of that to the circle, but also realize that in the context, you are a part of the collective. You are a part of the cipher, this exchange of energy. And that's an important element in this process as well. It's essential for creating space for productive commentary, critique, and dissent. It's a participatory process. There's a rhythm to it. When you bring yourself to the cipher, you spit your bars, you give your opinions, let it be rooted in something real, let it be rooted in something with conviction, and then the mic passes to somebody else. And that process is ongoing. It sharpens you. It's a participatory process of rhythm, commentary, and critique. That's number 3. Now, these are all not just linear, they're also iterative of each other. So you can use properties from the cipher. Why it's important for you to get together with the people that you're collaborating with and bounce ideas off of each other. It's important for you to be able to disagree, to be able to hone in on why you disagree, to be able to sharpen your viewpoints, to be able to learn, to be able to adjust, to be able to respond. You know why? Because you've done the due diligence of your commitment to pre-production. You've done your due diligence to self-discovery, and you've done your due diligence to crate digging. You've contextualized yourself. You've critically examined the history of that work, of that area, of that endeavor that you're about to embark on. These don't have to be done in a row. You can utilize elements of each of these while you're doing the next. Y'all ready for the next element? What happens after you do the cipher? What happens after you bounce ideas and you do all these things? You're building collective creative direction. And this doesn't have to be a creative endeavor. You are working together to decide the direction of whatever it is. In this phase, you're going to bring a full range of ideas. You're going to bring experiences. You're going to bring varied forms of expertise to the work. And that could be artistic. That could be cultural. That could be scientific. It could be engineering. It could be anything. But you rooted in the foundations that you laid out in pre-production and crate digging and how you sharpen those perspectives in the cipher periods. That crystallizes whatever shared vision that you all have. Now we 4 in. Y'all ready for the next one? What happens when you do all of that? You create synergy amongst yourselves. You have a collective creative direction now. You've done your homework. You've done your crate digging. You've committed to self-discovery. You've done all of this. What happens? You're fostering synergy amongst yourself. And alignment doesn't mean that everybody is exactly the same. That's important to note. But it does mean that we can see and communicate shared values, challenges, ideas, and foundational commonalities. And when we're in sync that way, the full potential of your contributions to a work can be unlocked. This phase is about anchoring yourself in purpose. And that anchor sparks a sustainability in the creation. How many of you all have ever started something and then you fizzled out, you never completed it because you're like, I just kind of lost interest in it? Happens to me all the time. It happens to me all the time still, and that's okay. That's okay. This methodology is something that can help you, help guide you to figure out, hey, how do I avoid that from happening? Is my heart really in this project from the jump? What do I need in order to embark into this thing? How am I working well with the people around me? Are we really a team? Everybody who creates something, whether it's your favorite basketball player, whether it's your favorite athlete, whether it's an educator, they all have a process. and the process is just as important as the product is. Now, after you foster synergy, this is one of my favorite parts, is embracing improvisation. Improvisation is something that in music, it's a critical element of creating music. Whether you're a hip hop artist and you're freestyling, the ability to combine something written with something new on the spot. If you're a fan of jazz, improvisation is huge. Gospel music, one of the things my grandma taught me and made me realize was that oftentimes when you see gospel artists perform, they never perform a song the same way twice, because there's so much improvisation. There's an ability to allow the Spirit to lead them. That's embracing improvisation. What is improvisation about? It's remaining open to creativity and the spontaneous moments that will occur when we're afforded the freedom, the affirmation, and the synergy necessary to do so. Synergy helps to make improvisation possible. Practicing improvisation will bring comfort amidst the unknown. We talked about these last 2 years, how much of the unknown has been present. And that affords us the space to not just respond to things. It's easy to just respond to things, but we don't just want to respond. We want to be able to respond, but also be visionary. So when obstacles face us, we're not only being reactionary, we can still be visionary in a way that allows us to find solutions to them, that they don't break us. That's an important part about embracing improvisation, but that can't happen without fostering synergy. Anybody got a favorite musical group, favorite band? The interesting thing about musical groups is, most of the times bands have a front man. Your favorite rock band, your favorite soul band, your favorite group, they have a front man, but the important thing to note is that the front man often embraces improvisation, so it looks as though the front man is just doing his thing, off being wild. But in order to do that, you have to foster synergy to be able to fall back immediately into the harmony of what the group is doing, but to be able to embrace improvisation so that you maximize that connection that you have with the audience and experience of where you're trying to take them. You can't do that. You can't embrace improvisation without fostering an important amount of synergy amongst the people that you're creating with, amongst the people that you're working with. And the final element is honoring the work. The hope for this process is that it changes you. When you put yourself through a creative process, it changes you. You're not the same once you completed this process as you was before you started it. And it's going to always change you. It's going to keep transforming you. And we want to embrace fear. We want to embrace the unknown. We want to embrace our imaginations and mystery to allow ourselves to continue to be transformed, because nothing is static. Everything changes. We want to grow. We want to honor our traditions, but we also want to innovate. We want ourselves to be sustainable. We want our approaches to be sustainable. We want our solutions to be creative. And that's an important part of honoring the work. You do that collectively, you do that individually, but it's a critical part of going through this process. You can't go through the process without honoring the work. And to make that all make sense, for me, your principal told you I'm from Pineville, South Carolina. It's often a forgotten part of the Low Country, you know. We were formerly Charleston County up until about Reconstruction, and it became Berkeley County in the far north part of Berkeley County. I come from a rich tradition, like I told you all before. It's a very rich tradition that has helped to sustain me. It's not unintentional that I'm coming here to speak to you all today as a black man, as a black person in South Carolina. There's a history here. And oftentimes we think of things happening a very long time ago, but some of the things that still exist, that still occur, you still have people who are able to reach out and touch you, to reach out and talk to you, that have experienced them. Coming from South Carolina, where I'm from in Pineville, South Carolina, it shocked me to find out there's a place called the Old Santee Canal that runs through Pineville, South Carolina. The Old Santee, prior to the creation of the Old Santee Canal, this will explain my path to water, why I created a water album, how I became a U.S. artist, U.S. Water Alliance artist in residence. Before the creation of the Old Santee Canal, there was no way for people to ship goods from the Santee River to the port of Charleston. There was no way to move goods from Columbia to the port of Charleston. My ancestors, with hand tools, dug out 2 to 3 pyramids of dirt to dig out the old Santee Canal so that goods could be moved from Columbia to the port of Charleston. And when I say my ancestors, I mean it figuratively, I mean it theoretically, and I also mean it literally, because those ancestors who dug, and not only dug, but were also foremans, the innovation that they brought with them from West Africa. It was a very nuanced and varied experience, but a lot of those ancestors were enslaved. So when I say my ancestors and growing up in Pineville, South Carolina, what I'm saying to you is it shocked me to find out that a place where all of my grandma, my grandfather, my sister, even, the cemetery that they're buried in is called Mexico Cemetery, and I never understood why until I did some research on the old Santee Canal and found out that there was a Mexico plantation in Pineville, South Carolina, who supplied a large amount of enslaved labor to dig this old Santee Canal that totally changed the way goods and things were moved in South Carolina. So we mosey on along, I'm creating, I'm making music, I'm going off to school, I'm graduating high school, Timberland High School, I go off to USC Upstate, I start making music up there, and what I realized was as a hip hop artist, there was no place for us to perform in South Carolina. No one would let us do shows anywhere. No one would write about us in the newspaper. We would reach out via email. We would try to send our music in, get them to listen to us, and they would always tell us that we don't want that to turn away our customers. Never mind that the majority of the practitioners of hip hop are black and brown people. We invented hip hop. We invented jazz. We invented blues. We invented rock and roll. But at that time, still here in this state where I spent 33 of the 34 years of my life, they would respond to me, it's not good enough, or we don't want to turn away our customer base. So we fought, we got creative. Oftentimes, as a black artist, I would have to get a white representative sometimes to reach out to the same venues in order to book the venue so that I could perform there. This is 10 years ago, 5 years ago. My first album came out in 2015, and it was in response to a proliferation of cell phone videos, seeing things, seeing young people who look like me being shot by police. This was around that time. This was Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown. This was around the time I was in my 20s. In response, I went to the studio and tried to channel my energy somewhere, created an album. And we decided we were going to put the album out on Juneteenth, 2015. That's June 19th, 2015. We reached out to every venue pretty much in Charleston, and they all said we don't allow hip hop shows, except one, artists who owned the venue. We booked the venue, we planned the release party. 2 days before the release party, the tragedy at Mother Emanuel happens. And the only place in the city that night, that Friday night, this happened on a Wednesday, the only place in the city that Friday night was a place called King Dusko, where we were planning our release party. And we turned it into a literal release party, a place where young people, black people, brown people, white people who loved hip hop, who loved the culture, could come and just allow themselves to feel, allow themselves to process a little bit, allow themselves to dictate how they wanted to respond in that moment. Fast forward a little more time, I moved back to the Low Country, specifically in Charleston and James Island around 2017. And I decided to do my best to ingratiate myself into the community and make my time here as impactful as I could. And I met many, there were a few of you that I was able to meet when I was going directly into schools, co-teaching with teachers about the power of arts, the power of culture, the power of identity, truth-telling, and a deep love for that. And simultaneously, I would walk through communities that would flood if it rained for 20 minutes. Traffic would be stopped, sewage in people's homes. Many of the times, a lot of those people look like I do. When I think about people who may not be able to afford to lift their house on stilts to avoid flooding, what happens to them? They're displaced. Communities change. Crate digging is important to understand why these things happen and why they continue to happen, because trust me, your minds and the power of your minds and the power of truth-telling and the power of having a deep love for who you are, your position in society, in this community, the history, how you innovate pushing forward, how you commit to truth-telling. The month is here, February, because it's important to have this month of Black history. But Black history in many ways is American history. There's much to understand about it and how it has functioned. There's much to build on. There's much to take very, very, very seriously. So what do I do while I'm here? I ingratiate myself into the community. I try to connect with teachers, connect with students, connect with churches, connect with pastors, learn more. Listening is a form of leadership. Listening is an art. There's an art to listening. And the best thing that I could offer at the time was an album, was a water album. 1 week after Hurricane Florence missed South Carolina, 3 times the size of Hurricane Hugo. A lot of you may not have been around during Hurricane Hugo, but I was very small, and I remember I remember the stories of what it did to South Carolina. My point is that experience included all 7 of these artistic elements for why we decided to come together 1 week after Hurricane Florence missed South Carolina. We got to decide how we were to process the reality of what could have happened. We had done our due diligence with crate digging. We had done our due diligence committed to pre-production. We had done our due diligence to ciphering, to honing ideas. I didn't just want to be in the building that I performed in Charleston. I became the first local artist to be able to perform there, the first hip-hop artist local to be able to perform there. I didn't want to be the last one to perform there. Being very intentional about bringing those people with you, kicking down doors, but kicking down doors ain't enough. You need to be able to build something new. Create something new with the people that you're building with the people that you're ciphering with. So water has been a part of my life from a very young age. Pineville is couched between Lake Murray and Lake Moultrie, and I still know the stories of people who were displaced even in the building of those man-made lakes in South Carolina. I could take you to places where the trees and the homes, the remnants of them still protrude out of the water. A lot of those people in my community still live there. A lot of them look like me, and they remember these stories that have happened. All of this is a part of my story. All of this has been a part of my process to bring me where I am today as an artist in residence for U.S. Water Alliance, to be able to create a water album, to be able to create a film about Black farmers. My great-grandfather was manipulated out of his land because he couldn't read. He was a landowner, sustainable, self-reliant. He was manipulated out of his land because he couldn't read. That doesn't make him any less brilliant. But he was manipulated out of his land. So my point to you is that the process, when we talk about art going forward, and you don't have to be an artist, I don't want you to just see the final creation of something and think all the value lies there. If my iPhone is a piece of art, let's talk about the process that was employed to create that thing. When you look at your friends, when you look at your neighbors, when you look at people in the community, ask the question. Put your finger on that intellectual curiosity that you have that wonders about what process brought them to where they are. What's their story? What is your story? You're still in the midst of writing it. I'm still in the midst of writing mine. And this is why I didn't come here today to teach you all how to be creative. You already have that. I didn't come here today to tell you how to be artists. You're already artists. I came here today to encourage you to see the art in everything, to see the importance of the process in everything, to see how you can impact the process. Consider this a writer's room, and all of you all are writers, and you're still writing a story, and everybody has one. We have an individual story and a collective one, and those are the stories that move society. Those are the stories that will push society forward. The process is just as important as the product. I'm not saying one is more important than the other, but the process, without my story, I'm not here to engage you all today at all. I'm not an artist in residence anywhere, and the process isn't going to always be easy. But again, I say it's not unintentional that I'm here today just talking to you as an artist, as a black artist in South Carolina. That's been a part of my process, and that's been a part of my story. My music will always reflect that. Anything I create will always reflect that, because I come from a tradition of deep love. To quote Dr. Cornel West, he said, "I am who I am because somebody loved me." The way my mother loved me, my grandparents, my community, the way they root for me now when they see me in the paper or they see something that I'm doing. They have been a part of my process, a critical part of my process. A deep love for myself as a black person, I have it, and I'll never lose it. I want you all to have a deep love for yourself. I want you to value the process just as much as the product. Make room for people and who they are and their stories and what brought them here to this present point. And I want you to I'm not encouraging you. The last thing I'll say is I'm not encouraging all of you to be artists. The thing that I am truly encouraging you to do is to see the art in everything. And in order to see the art in everything, you truly have to value the process. Value the storytelling. So I want y'all to repeat after me. This is Black History Month. I want y'all to repeat after me. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just want to build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just want to keep it real with you. I want to live better, eat better. I want to love better, sleep better. I want to feel so aligned. Sublime. I really appreciate y'all having me today, and I hope y'all got something from this time. Thank you. Sure.
All right, we might have time for a question or two. If anyone has a burning question or two for Benny, the quick scan, and we have one up here. It's a shorter walk. Which of your songs is your favorite?
Oh yeah. I would probably say there is a song, that song, was that you? Who was that? You? That song was a song called Sublime. And that's how it goes. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just want to build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just want to keep it real with you. I want to live better, eat better. I want to love better, sleep better. I want to feel so aligned, sublime. That's the hook. That's probably to date that one of my favorite songs I've done.
All right, anyone?
Hey. It's all good.
How do you maintain commitment to a project when you start?
Excuse me. Whoa. How do I maintain commitment to a project?
Yeah.
Well, how do I maintain commitment to a project when I'm starting it? I try my best to go through my process. I try my best to say things, say yes to things. Sometimes we're all going to have to do things that we don't want to do in order to do things that we like to do. And that's important to know. But I like to be in a position now at my point, but I'm 34 years old, you know, and I'm a full-time artist. I try to only say yes to the things that I know I'm going to find joy in. Because every process, no matter, I love making songs, I love making art, and sometimes I'm in the studio and nothing comes, and it's frustrating. But the process and having a methodology to your process, having a method that you can utilize, it helps you push through the frustration and realize, you know, sometimes I need to set this thing down and I need to come back to it. Sometimes I need to be able to identify what's going wrong here. Is it my collaborators? Is it me? Have I done a job that I need to do with self-discovery to find out if I really have the things that I need to get this done and that's why it's draining me? I do think the importance of a process will help you find joy and sustainability in following through on a project. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I noticed some of the students, the same students who don't know James Brown, you know, they're wearing shoes from the 80s.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Ashcraft, I saw you nodding when we were talking about freestyles. Is there some, no? All right, both of you want to move first.
Woo! I'm the joy of an innocent boy. I'm the blessed overtones of those double X chromosomes. I'm a critical study.
I'm not much of a freestylist, I'm still working on that, but I'll give you a little, in video of the Super Bowl, you all saw Eminem's performance, Lose Yourself. Well, no? Yes? Alright. So, alright, I'll do the fast part and Lose Yourself, and then I want you guys to help me sing the chorus. Alright, so, alright, can you guys do that with me? It didn't even know I'm trying to feed the world on my C+. Teeter totter caught up between being a follower and a prima donna. Baby mama drama screaming on her too much. She didn't want to stay in one spot. Another day, monotony's got me to the point of like a snail. I got to formulate a plot or end up in jail or shot. Success is my only option. Failure's not. Mama love you, but the trail has got to go. I cannot grow old and Salem's hot. So here I go as my shot. Please fail me not. This may be the only opportunity that I got. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot to not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Lose yourself.
right.
Some of you have seen this before, so some of you want to hear me rap really fast. So I need your help and I need your energy. So in order to do that, at the count of 3, I want everyone to say the words Buck Rap. B-U-C-K. Buck Rap. You with me? I said, are you with me? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Is he a teacher?
Yeah, substitute.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Oh, sure.
All right, everybody, let's join Mr. Ashcraft. All right, and before we let Mr. Benny here sing his out, I want to say that it's not an accident that he's here with us on what is my and maybe of your freshmen and sophomores, maybe first assembly here, whole school assembly here at Academic Magnet. For me, that means that forever and ever, my first assembly back was talking about truth telling, your story, and loving yourself. All right, if that's not an accident, if that's important to me, I appreciate you for that minute. All right, you got one for us?
Yeah, I got one. I'll do that. Can y'all hear me? Oh. I stare death in the face gracefully over mimosas, cheese, crepes, and pastries, caressing life in the small of her back, smiling. She turns the smile back through a foundation of facts, my hands on her spine, dividing page after page. I peek into my past and my future. I can read the Psalms on the parchment, gripped by sweaty palms of a prophet. I can see the chakras and the sutras. My life's in a spiritual cloth. I dice clothes in my ritual broth. I'm as wild as the Scottish summer owls. I'm a god in my African garb on the white sand beaches of Zanzibar. I am a traveling man. Land so expansive, official transcripts of my transit don't enhance it. I can see the thread from the loom on the bed I'm going to die in, or the hospital room I re-arrive in when I'm resurrected. Thank you.
All right, we're going to do this in order here. Freshman, right?
Oh, thank you. Damn. Hey, listen. I ain't never seen a teacher get up there and rap. Like, if I would have saw that when I was in high school, I would have lost it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I substitute teach here.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a few songs that I wrote that I'm hopefully going to have come out at the end of April. So there's a.
You don't remember me. Dylan?